Hey everybody, I'm Philip. A very, very stressed out Philip. Me and electronics have not gotten along recently. Last time we left off, we got introduced to Cyborg, which was awesome. And Cyborg and Larry and Rita went to this other dimension. Well, so did Jane, but she got spit out by the donkey. Then they went inside the donkey, and then and all that happened. A show of power from nobody. I am not 100% completely sold on this series yet, but we're not going to give up. We're going to keep going. I said I'd give it about half the season. If I'm still not feeling it, we'll just start something else. But the only way to do that is to watch it. So let's go to episode 3. Without further ado, let's get into it. Don't fuck with Hammerhead.
I think Chief might be a hoarder. And a diabetic.
I've been trying to get Chief to organize this dungeon for years. Anything about this nobody person in here, or where he may have taken the Chief.
All goes well, I'm on the next Mercury mission.
Become a poster child for a country who hates you.
Nobody hates me.
I'm done tiptoeing around these narrow-minded meatheads who'd sooner kick my ass than look at me if they knew who I really was. I'm out.
Come with me.
Make your flight tomorrow, then we'll leave. We'd make a killing in the private sector.
You're a selfish prick.
I'm so.
Now you want to talk to me about me, have the balls to come out and say it.
Not the fucking coward here, Larry.
Go to hell, John.
Don't you get it? I have no say in our relationship, your career, your family.
Right, because I'm the one who actually has something to lose. Fuck you. John.
Do you have a photo printer in there somewhere?
No.
Well, where do the photos come up from?
I said no.
Is it your butt? I bet it's his butt.
Where do you get toner for your butt printer?
Who died and made you team leader?
Everyone just shut up. Chief saved all your lives. You owe it to him to keep looking.
But being your own man means making your own way.
You don't want to give me the jet.
Is your mission, not Star Labs. You're gonna have to gather your own resources. That means no Star credit cards.
God, his dad is such a douche.
Hey, Grandma. Grandma's in town.
I'm obeying the law.
Can you just drive just a little faster?
Just a little bit faster. Come on.
Hmm.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Impressive leadership skills there, Batman. Way to rally the team. Justice League 2020.
Cheap and sleep. Okay.
You said there'd be no more late night beers with the guys.
And I meant it.
Maybe I'm the one who needs to make some changes.
I'm curious how you managed to keep all of your people in line.
Maybe if you weren't such an OCD alpha douche waffle, the negative spirit wouldn't treat you like one.
I bet Aquaman never loses his keys.
2 more minutes, Rita, then I'm taking it off the hinges.
Don't you dare!
So boring.
Aw. Whoa.
Betty!
Why not just do
How
that?
did we get here?
Flick got tired of waiting.
Saving up for the Morden. But I just couldn't wait.
How you doing, sir?
Man, what's Batman really like?
I wouldn't know. Never met the guy.
Doing super friends?
At least ask.
Bandages.
I'm Jane. That's Tarzan, and our metal friend here is Cheetah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You said you wanted the Morden?
Fuktopia.
Welcome to Fuktopia.
Fucktopia?
Fuktopia.
Spell it.
We're fine.
This way, please. The orientation is about to begin.
They called me a monster.
No.
A psychopath.
They didn't.
But then the war broke out.
Oh.
And suddenly, my ideas didn't seem so funny anymore.
Not in the brochure, but okay.
Until fate brought a scoundrel to my door.
Oh.
Is that the chief?
That's the chief.
Oh.
Draws metahuman powers from other dimensions. Consultants are standing by to assist you.
9. Oh.
9.
Your brochure says you have 28 superpowers to choose from. I've got 64 personalities, each with their own superpower. You hook up me and my friends, I'll give you some of my blood. You can use that DNA to do whatever the hell you do.
I like when you can just wander into like the secret lab. Well, not so secret lab. Whoa. Hmm. Huh.
Larry?
Dang.
Cheryl?
I've been hanging on a long time now, Larry.
I don't think I can do it anymore. You can't fix any of this. You never could.
I can change.
Hmm.
I hope that you find the love that you deserve. I really do.
Hmm.
Are you not the core persona inside your little menagerie?
Hmm.
You want to know how I got my powers, asshole? A group of fuckhead scientists like you did terrible things to an innocent girl.
Except the pursuit of science is worth any cost.
The man who helped me escape?
Please remain where you are.
The fuck?
A friend of Niles Calder.
Ooh.
Nazi fucks.
Uh-oh. Damn. Damn.
You fucked it all up.
Hmm.
Auf Wiedersehen, motherfucker.
Oh.
Insignificant victory doesn't belong to you, Jane. Nothing in your life does.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. You
don't.
You massacred people too. Aww.
Not going anywhere till the Air Force kicks me out.
Hmm.
You're stuck with me. Not going anywhere.
Hmm.
I'll be right here.
You know your old man will always bail you out, right?
Listen, I gotta run.
Guys?
Oh.
Was I supposed to be in here so long?
Uh-oh. All right, so the group goes to Paraguay, or tries to at least. This was very much a Larry-centric backstory episode. It's just, man. I think I said before in the episodes that I can't imagine like the burden of that. And not just on him, of course, but on his wife, on his lover. You know, we see the ramifications of how complicated and complex the situation, what situations are. The core of the episode was they were on the hunt for, they were looking for Niles. And we find a little more of the backstory about how Mr. Nobody was created, almost accidentally, it seems. He was in the middle of his transformation, and Niles busts in and shoots Fuchs, and then shoots the console. So it's understandable now why Mr. Nobody would be vindictive and have a vendetta towards Niles. It makes sense now why he's incomplete, because the thing didn't finish. It also makes sense why he's two-dimensional, because he didn't have time to form into whatever he was going to become. Granted, he's still super freaking powerful. Like episode 2 just showed what he could do. Now I'm assuming that's a fraction of his power. But I can't say now that I actually blame him. And historically, and in most media, I gravitate towards the villains. Because I've said in other stuff that, to me, the villains are more authentic. I find the good guys, the heroes, to be kind of, I don't know, one-dimensional or sanctimonious, or not as good as they portray themselves with, where the villains, they are just honestly themselves. Their motives are honestly what they are. They're transparent. And I find many heroes to not be, on the screen and in real life. Kind of feel for Mr. Nobody. I'm not saying that it's a good thing to go to a Nazi. That was... but very interesting that his experiments were looked down on, and then when the war broke out, they were sought after. It just shows you how perception can really be a blessing and a curse. The people that would be quick to judge you are just as quick to 180 and accept you if the terms and conditions line up and match up correctly. I mean, it was linear, but so much happened, and they were going to Paraguay to search for Niles. But I go more in depth in that in my notes. So let's go ahead and go to those now.
Philip's notes.
So while searching for any clues to the chief's whereabouts, who was apparently a hoarder, Cliff finds the phone number for his daughter and takes it. And then later on, he ponders calling her, but doesn't do it. I'm assuming this will be teased more and more. I'm assuming, since she's been brought up like this, that Mr. Nobody is going to use her in some manner as leverage later on. And then we go to the scene with Larry and I think John. If I have the name wrong, I'm sorry. I'm going to call him John from now on, though. I am apparently bad at paying attention to things I just saw. But yeah, Larry and John are there, and John says that he's going to discharge because, he doesn't want to be part of this group that would sooner kick him and spit on him, and if not worse, than accept him for who he is. And he asks Larry to come with him. And man, in that moment, you just feel for the duality that Larry has to live, being, a bisexual man. And I'm assuming he's bisexual just because he obviously has a wife and kids and also has a male lover. So maybe he's bi, leaning towards gay. I don't know. I'm not that far into the story. I'm just assuming based on the information I have before anybody gets mad at me. And on one hand, I get where John's coming from. Run away with me. Let's go somewhere where we can just be who we are. We can be together. We can be in love and not be afraid to show it. Which is, the irony is, we talk about how far we've come, and we have. But the fact is, I, to this day, can't go in public and hold hands or, anything like that without fear of backlash or repercussions. Maybe that's more my past, littered with less than stellar moments. Hospital visits were very frequent during my teenage years, which I think really shaped me. I'm not as meek and afraid as I was then. I was very much a little mouse that was just scared of everything and beaten into submission, literally. But even to this day, I'd go out and I'd see a gay couple holding hands or a lesbian couple holding hands, and I envy that. But not only are they doing it, but they have the courage and the fuck what everybody else thinks about them, and the fact that I don't, and I should. So it makes me wonder, am I less than because of it? I know this is some rabbit hole, and I'm sorry, but it applies to me personally. So it makes me think. I see a situation like this with Larry and his secret lover, and just makes you think. So it's not difficult to put myself in that situation and realize how hard it would be. Because then he goes home to his poor wife, you know? And granted, he's done it to himself. I mean, there's no denying that. The situation he's in is because of his actions, what he's done. But at the same time, you can't help what you feel. You can't help who you are. Things aren't as cut and dry as the world wants you to believe, because it needs to be cut and dry for them so they can live in that box that's been built around them. Where those of us who don't want to do that are, you know, seen as pariahs. I feel like I'm getting a little too deep with this. Let's go back to the let's go back to the episode. But yeah, Larry goes home and his wife is understandably upset too. You know, it was veiled, her conversation with him, but so he said things will get better. I have to get through tomorrow because the next day was his flight. And she says, you said that in this city and in this city and in this city, and it doesn't get better. You promised no more late night beers with the boys. So by no means am I saying that Larry is absolved of, you know, culpability in the tangled web that everyone's involved in, because he is the spider in the middle of it all that has created the web. So you feel for her and you feel for the kids. It's a shitty spot to be in. In lighter moments, Cliff asks, you know, where'd you get those? Is there a printer in there? You know, do you have a butt printer? And then Jane says, where did you get toner for your butt printer? It's really funny. Very Justice League, very debriefing and, you know, all that kind of thing. So he's trying to rally the troops, talks to his dad, who denies him the jet. And not just the jet, credit cards and all access to Star Labs. The dad is the exact kind of hero that I don't like. One of those sanctimonious ones where he thinks he's doing, you know, good work, but in fact he is manipulative. And he's not even the hero, he's like the fake hero. Whereas with like a Flash, you know, Flash is a hero. Cyborg's a hero too. But his dad represents someone who thinks they're the hero. You know, he's just, don't like the guy. I said in the last episode that it felt like that he saw him more as Cyborg than his son. And he's more of a commodity to him now. And him playing back that footage from the accident looks very suspicious. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with that. Do I want it to be Mr. Nobody? No. Will it probably be? Yes. But I would like for it to be someone else outside of that. Unless somehow Dad was involved in some way with Niles, which they are, obviously they're friends. But as far as Paraguay went, if they go back that far, then I can see Mr. Nobody coming for revenge, and this was how he got it. So yeah, the dad is starting to really irritate me. And then we get a new power from Jane. This is what I like about it. This is probably my favorite part of the Jane, you know, the 64 personalities and all of them have their own superpower, is getting introduced to them slowly. Like a new one. Here's a new one. And then later on, here's another one. I think we've seen maybe 7, maybe 8. So we have over like 50 freaking powers to see still. That's awesome. Rita won't come out of the bathroom because, you know, she's starting to turn into the Blob a little bit. And she teleports Cliff and Larry to Paraguay. And I even said, I was like, why didn't you just do that the whole time? That's what I thought. I was like, what? And then she says that she only did it because she was tired of waiting. So fair play. So that means we have 2 divulging, you know, paths now. We have Cyborg and Rita, and then we have Cliff and Larry and Jane in Paraguay. When they teleport there, they meet a gentleman that is sitting on a bench who is waiting for a bus. But apparently you go there to get upgrades. Upgrades. I use that in quotations because of what happened at the end. The guy on the bench said he wanted to get the Morden, but he couldn't afford it, so was settling for Magnet Feet instead. I would think there would be more to choose from than that. Like, I would want regeneration, personally, but... And then we find out that the Morden is metahuman powers from other dimensions. There's a lot you can do with that. And much like Jane and finding out more about that and her stuff, it'll be interesting to find out if we do, since the lab was destroyed at the end. But it'd be interesting to find out what more, like what other dimension, where did Mr. Nobody get his power? And then I said earlier, this is very much the Larry flashback episode. And none of it is fun. None of it is fun. So we get the flashback to him being operated on after the crash. We get the shot of everyone dead on the ground because he's so irradiated. He's essentially a scorched from Fallout mixed with a ghoul because, you know, of all the radiation. Ow. And then yeah, we have an interesting approach to what happened because his wife shows up she's essentially telling him goodbye. You know, this was her out that she was looking for. She was looking for, you know, easy out, and she got it. But I don't blame her. I'm not trying to shit on her. You know, she says, I love you, but you can't fix this. And then he says, I can change. And then she says to him, I hope you find the love you deserve. And man, that one cuts deep. I'm sure she checked out a long time ago. And I can't, like I said, I can't blame her. But it was just like a shitty timing, shitty situation. But, you know. But as said, the three of them go to Fucktopia, or Fucktopia. And ends up selling the idea that she is, you know, someone who has 64 personalities inside of her. And she will donate some of her blood. The people there are going to go like, and you're wondering what's going on. Because it feels very like a hive mind, which it is. It is. Then we hop back to Cyborg and Rita. The dad calls him and says the jet is ready. And yeah, it just feels like the dad is taking too much pleasure in watching his son fail without him. Like he failed the test and it makes him happy. I said during the episode, but I'm always amused when it's like you can just sneak off somewhere like that where there's no security. And Larry easily found the transformation lab area, and he got in the machine. Has this really interesting like one-on-one with, you know, the entity inside of him, the energy being, you know, sees John, and right before that's going anywhere, Cliff comes and tears the door off the machine. It's just like, he was like, whatever it was for him was right there. So it's like, man. And rather than get mad, you know, he just hung his head and just walked out, because if there's anything Larry's used to, it's disappointment. And then leading up to my favorite scene in the episode, we get this really cool back and forth between Jane and Fuchs, where we find out that Jane was experimented on by scientists as a little girl, and that's why she fractured. So it's like she went from 11 to 64. I like the idea that Fuchs said when he said that, is Jane not the core persona? Because the entire time we're thinking Jane is the, you know, it's who she is. The landing pad, I guess, is the real personality. But here, it's looking like no. Jane was created as well to help the real, whoever she is, deal with what happened. So whoever she really is locked away somewhere. And I thought the notion of Jane not really being Jane was really cool, because I hadn't thought of that. Like I just said, I assumed that the level-headed one that we see and talk to was who she was prior to, you know, getting all the powers. But now it's like her safe room. So we'll see how that develops. And then Fuchs says, the pursuit of science is worth any cost. Just after being told what they did to Jane, he says that, and yeah. Then we find out the hive mind that I spoke of. He said how Jane took herself and was fractured into many different people, personalities. He took his one personality and put it into many different people. And I like that inversion of that idea that Jane is this, but he is this. Same kind of idea, but different execution. You know, he has all these different versions of him. It's very, very intriguing. Like, what would you do if you could have like 40 different yous in different bodies? If you could take over someone's consciousness and override it and make them extensions of you, what would you do with that? Probably go outside. I don't ever go outside. And then the best part of the episode, the awesome fight scene. That was so cool. And I've been waiting for something like this, because especially with Jane, it's so frenetic and just so much is going on. We get to watch her hop from like personality to personality to ability to ability to ability. That was really cool. Just watching like teleporting, and then, you know, the one who can say the words as weapons. And so that was really cool. And then while that's happening, Cliff is just like tearing through the army of Fuchs. And it is gory. It is bloody. It was awesome. I was not expecting that. Hell yeah. That was cool. I look forward to future fights and battles to see what, especially when everyone is in control of their powers and can use them in different ways. Like once Rita finally can like manifest herself in a way that is useful. Because that was a big thing this episode with her, was that what use is she? Like, she just turns into a blob. But there's got to be more to that. There's got to be more she can do with that to make her an actual hero. And then of course Larry and his like energy being That's got to be huge. It has to be. It has to be huge. The man was irradiated and just burned to a crisp and is still alive. So of everyone, I'm like, Jane, yes, but with Larry, I'm really looking forward to what can he do when they learn to coexist. If I stick around for anything, it'll be what can Jane do in the future? Brendan Fraser's awesome delivery of his lines. And what does Larry become or manifest into once there's some symbiosis between him and Energy Guy? You felt like that when he was in the Morden chamber, that the Energy Guy wouldn't let him go. So can he not exist in this reality? Well, he can, because he can escape Larry, but maybe it's like an hourglass. He can only be gone for so long before he has to find a host. But Larry is his host. And then you have the idea of Larry being the host, but having no control. And then Jane being the host, but having no control. So it's also, similarities there too. And then before Fuchs dies, because it's, comic book show, he says to Jane, "This insignificant victory doesn't belong to you, Jane. Nothing in your life does." That was some good one-liners in this one. And then earlier I talked about the two paths that were being taken with what happened to Larry, and his wife chose to cut and run. And then John shows up, he re-ups into the Air Force and says, "You're stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere." And I thought that was really, his wife chose to leave him, but his lover chose to stick by him. Also really sad that if you watch back John's delivery and the way he had to talk to Larry, he had to bring other people with him to go see Larry, because it would look weird if he just went to saw Larry by himself, I guess. I don't know. But they had to be very just very macho, and all that stuff. And it had to have been, yeah. And then Larry tells John to go. And just the 1-2 punch for Larry. I mean, on one hand, yeah, it sucks. On the other hand, one could argue that it's like the chicken's coming home to roost, as I've said a couple times. It's a complicated situation. And on the jet flying back, Dad says, "Your old man will always bail you out, right?" Jane writes on the window, "Control is a weapon for fascists." This was an episode of people internally coming to grips with things, or trying to get a handle on something. Rita's trying to figure out her usefulness and trying to control, what she can do. And then Cliff is trying to be his own person outside of his father, while constantly being undermined by his father and treated, like I said, a commodity. But then you have Jane trying, being told pretty much that she's not in control. She's not who she is. Who is she then, if she's not who she is? And then of course Larry, holy shit, this was gut punch the episode for him. So it's a common thread that's being woven throughout the episode of, identity and place in the world. And on one hand, coming to terms with things, and not so much coming to terms with things, but finding terms in the end that you can come to terms with. And I think that's going to be the journey for a lot of them until they reach their Super Saiyan versions and they're a unit and they're kicking ass, which sounds awesome. And then we end, and I'm sorry for this, but we end in a very disappointing manner. The guy in the beginning that was on the bench, he's been stuck in whatever machine he was in for too long. He comes out, he is part boils, part dinosaur, part celery. And he is super happy about it. I'm thinking if I came in for magnet feet, I think if I was Jurassic vegetable person, I wouldn't be happy. He was. I thought it was kind of stupid. I'm sorry. I know I've been told by a few people to expect weird, and I am, but this was a little almost jumping the shark kind of weird, I guess. I've also been told by a couple people in messages and comments that I am incapable of handling how weird the show can get. I think that I'm perfectly fine handling how weird the show can get. I just think sometimes there's good weird and there's bad weird. And I think, Dinosaur Celery Man is bad weird. And that is all for my notes. Everything else are from patrons over on Patreon. Very interesting. Very sad episode. When you go into a new series, especially one where you didn't read the comics, you don't have any frame of reference, nothing. I went into this completely blind. It's like a jigsaw puzzle scattered at your feet, and you're slowly putting the pieces together as you watch the episodes. And we got quite a few pieces here. I mean, obviously they're still searching for Niles, and they really didn't seem to get many clues from Paraguay. So I'm not sure what the next step will be, but we'll find out when we watch it, which hopefully will be soon. But that's going to wrap this one up. As always, I don't have a fancy outro, so I'll simply say thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.